Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga, text 5. Udarit Atma Natmanam Natmanam Avasadayet Atmeva hi Atmano Bandhur Atmeva Ripur Atmanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So here, Krishna is telling us how we should help, how we should use the mind. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. So the mind is a tool. We can either rise with him with the help of the mind. We can either rise with it or we can degrade ourselves. So the mind can be our friend and our enemy. Depends on how do we handle it. Because it is the mind, it is the friend and enemy. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Just depends on how we are using it. The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. So when we say Atma, some people think of it as the body, some as the mind, and some as the soul. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. So in yoga, the idea is to control the mind. So this is what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna in this chapter, Dhyan Yoga, right? The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from the attachment to sense objects. So what the mind is always saying, oh, you know, if you eat this, you'll feel very good. It'll make you feel so nice. Oh, if you're going to go watch this, you'll enjoy so much. Oh, if you'll hear this, you'll feel very happy. So that's what the mind does. It draws us to the objects of the senses. It is stressed here in that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nations. So we have to train the mind. We have to train the mind to help us get out of this material world. In the material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. So we are the pure soul. We are the soul. Now we are inside this material world. How? It's because of this mind and false ego. The false ego makes us think, I am God. Everything I see, that is for my enjoyment. And the mind helps us with that. More and more desires, more and more desires. The false ego is like, who's God? I am God. There is no other God. Why should I be called a servant of God? Why should I serve him? It's me. That is our false ego. And the mind, it helps us. You know, the mind and false ego, they both are like helping each other to keep us here in this material world. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. And in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. Our mind is very attracted to this material world, very attractive. And it gives this proposal. You'll see this, you will feel happy. You'll eat this, oh, you'll enjoy so much. You know, that's what it does. But we have to train it. We have to train. And Krishna is saying, yes, it is possible. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But Krishna is saying, yes, it can. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. So Krishna is saying, don't get so entangled in this material sense objects. So what we can see the example, for example, the fish. The fish sees a worm squiggling and the fish says, I need to eat this worm. Then goes to bite the worm. But little does the fish know, there is a fisherman hook is there, gets entangled with the hook. Or the moth. The moth is very attracted to fire. So it sees a light, goes there, goes around, round, but that's the cause of his death. Or the elephant. They keep a she-elephant to capture a male elephant. What they do? They keep a she-elephant. And the male elephant sees, and he gets attracted to her. But he doesn't know that in front of the she-elephant, there's a big pit which is covered by grass. As soon as he goes towards her, he falls in the pit, and that's how he's captured. So this is how the sense objects, they capture us with our mind. So the best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. So that's the reason Krishna first of all says to Arjuna, "Oh Arjuna, you first fix your mind on me and then you do your duty." So when the mind is fixed on Krishna, then it's easier to not be so attracted to the sense objects. It's easier to control the senses. Then the senses can be engaged in Krishna's service. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, so one must. Krishna is saying you must, because your mind is your enemy and it is your best friend. It's with your mind you will be able to get out of this material world, or with the same mind you will continue to live in this material world. So that's the reason he's saying, fix your mind on me. We see the example of Maharaj Ambarish also. First he fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, and then he engaged in his duties. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishaya sango muktya nirvishayam manaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. So Krishna is saying, use your mind as your friend. How? Fix your mind on me. Fix your mind on me, and this way your mind will become your best friend, and it will help you to get out of this material world. It will be the cause of your supreme liberation. And how to easily fix the mind on Krishna? How can we easily fix our mind on Krishna? Because the mind runs away. Mind runs away by hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting constantly. Krishna will say later, because Arjuna will say it's so difficult to control the mind. So Krishna says by constant practice and detachment. Constant practice and detachment. Constant practice of what? Hearing and chanting, and detached from the sense objects, from this material world. Because if you're attached to Krishna, automatically the mind is there fixed on Krishna, then it doesn't run. So this is the endeavor. It's difficult for us, for some of us to do it. It's difficult for some of us. But Krishna is saying, you constantly practice. You constantly practice, hear and chant, and that will help you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So whenever the mind is trying to become our enemy, we can immediately call out to Krishna, Krishna, please help me. And Krishna helps. He's our best friend. He helps. So were there any questions or comments?
No, all good.
We'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.